Hello there my dear people, hope you all are doing well. Now before we actually get into this video, let me give you the context of this video. The video's context is not going to be about telling you not to buy fragrances. No, that is not my goal. My goal here is to tell you to buy fragrances, but doing it in a smarter way, by doing it wisely. Okay, having said that aside, on this video probably will be a little longer one. Second, I'm going to talk about some things of my personal experience. Probably that is something that will also add value to this particular video. So keeping those things aside, I'm going to tell you how to build a fragrance collection and avoiding some key mistakes that we do as a beginner. Now that could be as a beginner, but even as somebody who is collecting fragrances for a long time, we all end up doing these mistakes because we go down that same rabbit hole of buying fragrances, right? I will talk about 8 key elements by which we can kind of build a smart collection of fragrances. And the reason why I'm doing this video is primarily because one gentleman on Instagram, I think his name is Akash, he texted me and asked me to make a video for beginners, basically with the idea of how to build a fragrance collection. Now when I started jotting down my points, I realized that there are some things that we would want to talk about. So that's how this whole video idea is coming around. Okay, so now let's get into this video. If you're watching this channel for the first time, my name is Rodney, you're watching the Perfume Experience. Let's get going right after this intro. Alright, so the 8 key points, but let's start with the first one. The first key most point is budget allocation. Okay, now this is crucial to building a fragrance collection or simply to buy any fragrance. Now, okay, now what do I mean by budget allocation? Okay, now for everything that you need, whether it's a car that you buy, whether it's a house, whether it's a phone that you buy, you always want to put a little bit of that amount to buy something, right? Everybody comes from different walks of life, okay, and what I mean by that is basically your responsibilities would be different, your family commitments would be different. You as a student might get less money to spend, but as a earning individual, you might not have all of the freedom to spend all your money because you might have responsibilities of your children, spouse, parents, and so forth. There could be plenty of things, and there are different people coming from different walks of life. So this is very important for us to kind of understand where we stand and what is that we can spend and how much should we spend. Okay, now before I get a little more deeper into this, let me tell you about a little bit of my personal experience on this. Now, my first experience of a fragrance was in about 2001, okay, 2000 or 2001, when my father was actually abroad, and he then gave me a David of Cool Water. This used to come with a gift box with a watch as well, and I also had a Hugo Boss bottle at that point of time. After that, my father passed away and I got into working and I always had to support my family. For the next 20 years time, I never really had any encounter with a designer fragrance at all. I never bought a single perfume in my life for 20 years time because I couldn't afford it. Okay, I maybe got a couple of them as gifts, but nothing great, nothing fancy. Every time we would go to Shopper Stop or Lifestyle or for something that would go, I would sniff the fragrance, I would ask the price. 24 Ice was one of those perfumes like that. Calvin Klein's Euphoria used to be one of those fragrances like that I've smelled, but I've never really got to getting it around. Okay, fast forward to 2021, I moved to a new organization, and that is where my entire life kind of changed. This whole journey of reviews started from that particular organization, my current organization, and then it also gave me a little bit of a freedom to kind of spend money on perfumes. Okay, now during this 20 years time, what did I do for fragrances? Every month when we did grocery shopping, we bought one deodorant. Okay, that used to be an Adidas, that used to be an Axe, that chocolate wall, I think that was the most prominent that I had. Even when in 2021 I did get Wild Stone set of 3 deos because that is what I thought is enough for me. Now that is how I have done the last 20 years. But from 2021, I've started opening up to buying fragrances. But even now, I can't think about buying a Louis Vuitton Imagination or a designer fragrance for 15,000-20,000 rupees or a niche for that matter, because that is too much money to spend. 30,000 rupees is almost my daughter's 1 quarter's fees. So which is, not something that I can afford to do right away. Okay. So how do you come around allocating a budget when you are stuck in places like this? Okay, like I said, different people come from different walks of life. Okay, so the best thing that you could do is think about a budget. Okay, now budget could be 1,000 rupees if you're a student, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, could be anything. Keep that money aside to buy a perfume. Okay, now what can you do with this money? There are two things that you could do. One, go about buying decants. Now if your budget is 2,000 rupees, in a month you can easily get for 2,000 rupees maybe 5 to 6 different decants. So now in this case what happens, you are able to actually experience 6 different perfumes, and each decant, if it is 10 ml, 10 ml will give you 100 sprays which you can easily wear for 10 to 15 times. Okay, now let's say 2 months if you did this, 2,000 rupees, that is 4,000 rupees, and if you were to get 10 to 15 decants, you are comfortable to wear these fragrances for a really long time, because you are actually looking at let's say 15 decants, that's 150 ml of juice which is spread across 10-15 fragrances. You will be comfortably able to wear this, right? So one option is decants, okay, which will allow you to save money because you can experience more. Second option is, like a lot of people do, they will save that 2,000 and end up buying something else. Okay, so they buy one perfume at the end of 2 months which is 2,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees or 6,000 rupees. Doing that, do not use your credit card to buy perfumes. You're just going to go the rabbit hole. Okay, so the first thing is budget allocation. The second thing is experience decants. Okay, buy decants. Decants help you in a lot of way. Okay, like for example, recently the Havas Fire came out. Now because we have decants as a thing, now decants also help you with something else. If you are buying full bottles, you can decant fragrances for somebody that you would want, so that you can sell that, you can buy that money, get that money back, and then you can invest in another fragrance. Okay, so that is how I and Shikhar actually started decants. One was to basically fund this channel, to buy fragrances for this channel. Second is also because we were able to keep the partials with us. So at 20 ml partial we would keep with us. That way we were able to build a little bit of a collection of our favorite fragrances, because when you have 50-100 fragrances, 20 mls are more than enough for you to cover for a long time. Now there is a different problem when you go for decants also. Okay, the con of the decants. The con of the decant is you need to get it from a reliable source. Okay, the other problem is I have a box here, okay, which is a large box like this, and I must have at least more than 100-200 decants with me. Now especially when I started the review channel, I had fragrances from I used to compare Indian houses, right, for one particular perfume. So I would buy 4 different decants of 10 ml each from different people, and I have boxes filled with decants which I am not able to exhaust, which probably I'll have to kind of give it away or sell it off, right? So that becomes also a problem on the other side, because you're spending too much money on decants. So key important thing is, again coming back, yes, the budget makes a lot of sense. With the budget, look at buying decants. So those are 2 points of the 8 points. The next thing that we will talk about is the hype train. Okay, now this is very important, because today what's happened is you have a lot of YouTube channels, including mine, lots of YouTube channels, and every fragrance that comes out is reviewed, and we are also in a rat race to review the first time, and then everybody wants to experience those perfumes as well. Because of this, you're under constant pressure to buy the fragrance. Okay, now don't fall for the hype train, rather wait for the hype train. Okay, don't do impulsive buying, rather just take a step back. If you want to buy, you got a great deal. Okay, just hold for a day, go back tomorrow and look at the same deal again, and think if you still need that fragrance, then look at buying it. But don't fall for the hype train. For example, Jean Paul Gaultier's Elixir, the fragrance came out, the dupes came out. How many dupes do you want? Kingdom, Rehan Elixir, Lion, Armaf's Lionheart. Now Havas has got an Elixir as well. All of them are the same fragrances, right? But what happens? You buy this, then you realize, oh, this is not good, so I will buy the other one. So that is not good, I'll get another one. You will keep doing this. Don't do that. Wait for it. If you really need it, then go ahead and buy them. So the third point is, do not fall for hype train. Now you will realize all of these points that I'm telling you will actually add up to a very good summarization of how these are interlinked and why I would say this. The fourth point, and I think this is the biggest mistake that everybody makes when you are beginning as a fragrance collector at a beginning level, which is, do not buy cheap perfumes. Okay, I'll repeat that. Do not buy cheap perfumes. Now, this is the biggest mistake we make. We look at Amazon and we think, okay, I want a fragrance, I will buy something for 400 rupees. Okay, we buy it and you realize it whiffs off in 20 minutes time. Classic examples: Villain, okay, Bombay Shaving Company, Mexico. So I have some Set Wet Ice, so many perfumes I have in my cupboard which I bought thinking, okay, so under 500 rupees I want to give something valuable to my subscribers. Duds, total duds. So the biggest thing is, when you go to DMart, when you go to some supermarket somewhere and you see 400, 500, 600 rupees perfumes, do not buy them, do not blind buy them, because mostly they will whiff off in some really short time and they are going to make it a bad experience. What they will do is they will play with your mind. When you look at those ads, when you look at those note descriptions, you will think, oh, this must be really good, I should buy it. And then when you experience it and the experience is negative, your hatred towards fragrance grows, and it also starts building up pressure saying, okay, I want beast mode perfume, so I will buy something else. And you start doing that. What it does is you end up with a lot of fragrances which are redundant and you don't actually use it. You will give it away for charity, or if somebody is asking for a below the belt price, you get even more irritated with all of that. So don't buy cheap perfumes. Rather, we'll come to the fifth point, which is basically buy value for money fragrances. Now, what do I mean by value for money fragrances? Now, these are fragrances where they should meet certain criteria. One, they should be mass appealing. They should be able to last for 4 to 5 hours at least. They should have a good price to volume ratio. Okay, what do I mean by that? Look at Havas, for example. Let's take Havas, the most popular perfume for a lot of people. When it came out, I think it was in the 4,000 rupees price pocket. For a lot of the time, it was between 3,500 to 4,000 rupees. Now, even at that particular price point, it's a value for money perfume because one, it lasts longer. The sillage is nice. The scent profile is nice. Okay, so if I'm paying 4,000 rupees for 100 ml, I'm getting it for about 40 rupees for about a ml, which if it is in your budget that you are allocating, if it is working out, it's a good perfume to buy. Okay, now recently we've seen a lot of price drop. Okay, and a lot of you, I also gave this deals to a lot of people who wanted to buy Havas and Havas Ice and Club de Nuit Intense, for the simple reason being, now the 4,000 rupees fragrance has dropped to about 2,800 rupees, 3,000 rupees. It is a value for money perfume even at that price point because it lasts long, it smells nice, and it makes sense to buy that to add in your collection because it is a value for money. Same thing with Club de Nuit Intense as well. The Pure Parfum is at about 3,500 rupees right now. Makes sense because you buy 150 ml of it, lasts longer, good scent profile. All of these make it a value for money perfume. So while you are saving that money that you are looking to allocate in your budget, you can go about buying good perfumes that actually build a collection for you. Okay, now when you do this, it will make a lot more sense instead of buying fragrances based on hype, buying fragrances on impulse. Okay, so buy value for money perfumes. Think about fragrances like Sheikh Zayed Blue, good alternative of Dear Sauvage. Okay, now if you are looking to build a collection, now, collection needs a lot of fragrances, right? So you can't just buy every fragrance from the shops that are there and build a collection. That doesn't work that way. You need to be smart. You need to be strategic about what you want, when you want it, right? So buy fragrances that are value for money. That's my fifth point. The sixth point, or rather my fifth point, is go for as many mass-pleasing DNAs possible. Okay, especially when you're starting out to buy a collection, because you're building a collection, buy as many mass-pleasing DNAs because that will help you get compliments. Okay, that will make people notice you. Okay, you wear fragrances for two reasons. One, you love fragrances. Second, you want people to acknowledge that you're wearing a fragrance. You want to get a compliment. That's the ultimate goal that everybody looks around, for having fragrances, because you want to smell nice. People want to, who are around you should be able to appreciate you as a entire persona, right? So for that reason, buy mass appealing DNAs. Do not buy fragrances that are polarizing. Okay, for example, Bin Shake is a great fragrance, but the oud in that is skanky. While the fragrance is very good, it's a beautiful fragrance, the oud might be repulsive for some. Okay, on the other hand, the Havas line or Club de Nuit Intense are not like that. They are mass-pleasing fragrances. Okay, they are excellent DNAs that will get you compliments. Your YSL Y, okay, Blue de Chanel, okay, Dear Sauvage. All of these are great fragrances that are good in, in this category. So going for mass pleasing DNS is a better way to build your collection, to start your collection. And then once you reach a certain point, then you can start playing around a little bit more towards niche, towards a little more complex perfumes, and that will build a different collection. Okay, so fifth point, get mass pleasing DNS. Right, so with this mass pleasing fragrances that you built, now let's say you got about 6 to 7 or 8 fragrances in this category. So you're getting there, right? Now it is time to take it to the next level. Now with the same budget allocation, okay, since you already got what you wanted, your basic needs are covered with this 6-7 mass pleasing, good value for money fragrances, all of that. Now it's time to explore. Okay, how do you explore? Go to Shoppers Stop, go to a perfume fragrance, go to a fragrance shop, store where there is niche fragrances or high-end fragrances. Try them. Okay, if not, look in the city that you are in. There are fragrance groups that are there. Be part of those communities. You will be able to meet them. You will be able to experience perfumes that they have, and all of that. Or you can still look at buying decants of expensive perfume just to try. Okay, now once you've got around to this part, then you can move to the sixth phase, which is basically buying fragrances for special occasions. Okay, now what are special occasions? Special occasions are date nights, weddings, your pujas, your church outings, or your mosque prayers that you go for, or any celebrations where you want to smell different from your everyday. Okay, now for these things, of course, you want to buy some fragrances here. So you will have to be very choosy about what you want. So if it's for a date night, you want a Diorum Intense, or you want a Valentino Umo Intense, or you want a Bin Shake for weddings, or for some sandalwood fragrance for like Moksha for, let's say, a prayer, or for Friday you want like an Ombre Namad, something like that. Now you have a picture in your mind, you have a image of what kind of a fragrance you want for these special occasions. So every month, start saving for that particular perfume, from the same budget allocation that you have. Okay, so eventually, let's say one date night, one celebration, weddings, one prayer, and one let's say party, and then one something. Okay, 5 special fragrances. So look at buying for those 5 occasions, one every month or once in 2 months. Okay, so this way you will slowly build up a special fragrance. So now what you've done, you've built some decants of different fragrances you want to try, you've got some affordable mass DNAs, you've got all of these things. Now you also have got your special perfumes for occasions, right? For your special occasions. Now the last point that you would want to go is for seasonal fragrances, which is basically adding a variety. Now what are seasonal fragrances? You want to have summer fragrances, you want to have winter fragrances, you want to have fall and spring. Okay, but primarily let's go with 3: summer, spring, and monsoon. This is the variety, right? Now for this, what you do, from your mass pleasing DNAs and your special occasions that are done, now you buy good summer fragrances, maybe 2 or 3, like Kaf, like Tiram, okay, Club de Nuit Intense if it is already there, Havas. Those will be your safe fragrances. Those are your versatile fragrances that you can wear all throughout the year, which will get covered in your mass pleasing DNAs. For winter, you want a patchouli based fragrance. Okay, you want a leather based fragrance, you want a oud fragrance that you want to build, you want a tobacco fragrance. So depending upon season, you start building or buying fragrances there. Now again, when I say buying fragrances, you can buy them by decants, you can buy another way. Now one other way that I have built a lot of this perfume collection is by buying partials. So what we do is we buy, just like you, we buy a blind buy of a perfume, we decant it, I get the 20 ml, I review it, or vice versa. Sometimes I blind buy it, I review it, and then I send it for decanting. Okay. Now, the 20 ml, I keep that as my partial, and that's how I build a collection. A lot of people sell fragrances on Reddit, on Facebook groups as well, where you can buy partial. In fact, when we don't need the partials for ourselves, we put it on the community group and sell off the partials. So partials are also a good way of building a collection, because you will get a 20 ml or a 30 ml or a 50 ml depending on what you need. That can help you build a substantially good collection of fragrances. So eventually, if you look at the 8 points that I was talking to you about, you will be able to buy mass-pleasing DNAs, you will buy value for money fragrances, you will buy fragrances for special occasions, and then you will buy it for all across the year for different seasons and different note profile. Now, as you get deeper into your collection, you can then look at building fragrance specifically about certain notes, like a mango note, like a chocolate note, or something like that. You can start building your collection of that kind of a thing. Now, that is how I would say that you can build an excellent fragrance collection over a period of time. Time is key here, because you do not want to buy it every month. You want to build it over years' time, because a fragrance collector and a fragrance beginner, there's a huge difference. Now, a collector will buy a brand, let's say a house like Maison Francis Cordigan. Whatever Maison Francis Cordigan has made, he will buy all of those fragrances and backups of fragrances of those. So each volume will be, let's say each bottle, you'll have 3 units of it. That is a collector. But to get to a collector's point, it will take years. But most of us are not from that walk of life. Most of us are buying fragrances because we want compliments, because we want an indulgence. We want something where we are appreciated. We want something that we can get connected to. That's why we buy perfumes, we buy books, we buy watches, we buy shoes. These are some things, although these are luxuries, but these are also some things that we are emotionally attached to. Like, I have a pair of Levi's jeans from 2001, which I have never thrown out, because I kind of like it because it was my first Levi's. Okay, so that way you will definitely build connection. So we are never going to stop buying fragrances because there are going to be new releases every time. So we are not going to do that, right? It's not possible. But what we can do is, we do not have to fall into a rabbit hole of spending the money that we don't have, or not doing our responsibilities but spending fragrances on fragrances. And we don't want to do that. We want to be smart, we want to be wise, and then build a collection slowly. So let me reiterate the 8 points. First is budget allocation. Second is decants. Don't fall for the hype train. Don't buy cheap perfumes. Buy value for money fragrances. Buy more mass appealing DNAs. Buy for special occasions, and then buy for seasons and notes accordingly, right? Some quick recommendations if you're starting off on these things. Under 500 rupees, if you're looking for a perfume, Chief by Heaven Duft or Beardo Single Malt is what I would consider. 1,500 rupees, you can think about Fatan, Rasasi Fatan, Theorem, Blue by Ahmed, all of that if you kind of get in that kind of a list. 2,500 rupees, your options are going to get a lot more. Let's say Zellini, let's say Kaf, Ignite Oud, and all of that. 3,500 rupees, I would say Club de Nuit Intense, Avas Ice, Fire Now, all of these. So I think this is just a ballpark idea of what it is, and slowly and steadily you can build a nice collection. Don't get fooled by people who will just show you every day saying, I bought these fragrances, I bought this many per this month. That is not you. That doesn't work for you. You figure out what is your salary, what is your earning, what are your responsibilities. After all of that, do you have some money for yourself? And with that money, how do I spend it wisely? That's what you should look at, and that's how you will have a collection that you will enjoy, that you will cherish. Every time you look at it, it will make you happy, and slow by slow, with every drop in the ocean, you will build a beautiful collection of perfumes. And if you like this video, please definitely hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on another video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.